Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers Season 5, Episode 6 of our Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign. And for the first time in 4 episodes, the actual Dawnbringers are back this evening with an episode entitled Frozen Falls and Friendly Figures. We are very excited to be back with you, and thank you all for patiently waiting as we dealt with some tech gremlins. Had to confiscate a bunch of wrenches from a bunch of monkeys, but I do want to preface this and just say, just in case the gremlins show back up and we start buffering really bad and we lose the ability to broadcast, we will continue playing the game offline, and we will let you know when that VOD goes live. I'm going to be uploading a couple of back episodes, the last 2 episodes this weekend, and this one will get uploaded this weekend anyway. But I just wanted to put that out there. Don't despair too hard if we get separated. Welcome, everybody. It is so nice to see everybody again. I know we played just last week, but it feels like it's been such an extended break because of the Dawnbringers themselves, with the exception of Fig, not being here for so long. So, couple of real quick announcements, and then we are going to get started with the game. I'm just going to point down to the logos down below. As you know, we are Jasper's Game Day partners. Very excited to be partnered with Jasper's Game Day, and very excited to be able to participate in the just the awesome stuff that they do. You can type !Jasper in the chat, as Jeremy has just done, to see a link where you can donate to that wonderful cause. Typing !Coffee in the chat will get you access to Metade Roast Coffee, a partnership with Initiative Coffee Company. And when you buy every bag you buy of that coffee, $3 of that price goes to benefit Jasper's Game Day. !MTD Claw, that will get you a link and some information about our sponsor, Talon and Claw, makers of wonderful dice accessories, wooden dice, DM screens, dice vaults, all those wonderful things. And when you go to checkout, use code MTDClaw and get 10% off your order and help support the channel. So head on over there and check out their awesome stuff. Huge shout out to D&D Beyond, as always, for giving us insider access. I run all of my D&D streams using D&D Beyond, and you can even mouse over now and check out the stats for these now all level 12 Dawnbringers. And keep up with their highs and lows in their hit points throughout the game. Look up above Dan and V there in the upper right hand corner, and you're going to see 153 domain dice sitting up there. But what are domain dice, you ask? Well, domain dice are a way that you, the viewer, can have an influence on the game. For every $5 tip, every 500 bits you cheer, every subscription, resubscription, gift subscriptions count. And when we get rated, I award domain dice. Those domain dice can be used so that the players can reroll d20s. They can spend 2 and make me reroll, all the way up to the patron's blessing, 5 domain dice to turn any hit into a super critical. So if you see that number getting low, then you know what to do. The last thing I want to mention before we get started is the most important thing. We talk about it all the time, but it's part of our ongoing effort to destigmatize mental health discussions, to make those something that we all talk about openly. Quite simply, we want you to know that you matter. Your presence makes a difference. You are not a critical failure. And it's okay to not be okay. That's the one thing that I know it took me a long time to realize that, and a lot of people don't talk about that. that it's okay to feel the way you feel. It's okay to struggle, but you need to realize at a certain point, you might need to talk to somebody. You might need some help. And there's lots of great resources out there, and we strongly encourage you to reach out and seek that help. That's why we've made it so that you can come here to our channel any time of day or night, whether we're streaming or not, and you can type !help in the chat, and that will bring up some wonderful resources such as the National Suicide Lifeline, their text number, the Canadian Suicide Prevention Services text numbers and phone numbers, which are available in French and English, and a URL that you can visit no matter where you are in the world. There are resources available in your country or a country nearby, and those are all at that URL. Please use those resources if you need them. Don't be afraid to ask for help. With that, I think it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. All right, so for the last 4-episode arc, we've spent some time in the Underdark at the Adamantine Fortress as Fig and his newfound clockwork companions maneuvered through a clockwork maze and eventually wound up in a library where they learned, Fig in particular, specifically learned a lot about who he really is and how he figures into the Lady Vantage's overall schemes and machinations, and has also learned that he was instrumental in those machinations in his previous incarnation as Copernicus Ebersom, who split himself into 3 pieces: the mind, the soul, and the heart. Fig is the mind. Figure 3, Archimedes, is the soul, which resides inside Fig now. And Figure 1, Copernicus, was the heart, which, after defeating the security system, which was a clockwork dragon combined with that had wings of old books and parchment, was able to find the answer to the final piece of the puzzle, that the heart is actually hidden away, and is going to take quite an effort to get a hold of. In the meantime, these last 4 episodes were actually these 4 sessions were actually a flashback to when Fig had vanished from the presence of the Dawnbringers, while they were still traversing the Nightfang Spire in search of the vampire Gulthias. In Fig's place, the Githzerai Gerithan showed up and has been traveling with them and aiding them and helping them out along the way, not knowing if and when he would ever have an opportunity to return home. Particularly when they finished when they destroyed Gulthias and in a life-saving and split-second decision, Drown teleported them all to the deck of the Evangeline, which unfortunately for them was only half there and was perched on the edge of a snow-covered mountain somewhere in the midst of a frozen tundra. So now Gerithan finds himself stranded along with the Dawnbringers, nearly cascading down an avalanche. They were able to avoid that, traversing through the snowy terrain until they discovered a blackened cabin perched on the edge of a precipice. They began exploring the ruins of this cabin, and in the process of exploring what looked like a leftover experiment, there was an explosion that dealt quite a bit of damage to a lot of the Dawnbringers. They recovered a bit. They began investigating more. Gerithan studied the device and learned that with a little bit of work, they could potentially restore this device to its proper configuration, and that it is somehow factors into controlling weather, which seems like it might be pretty important, since so far where they are appears to be in a state of perpetual dark and constant snow. While investigating within this cabin, Drown exited a room, took a step, and the floor broke out beneath him.
Exited through the floor.
Cantriel quickly reacted to activate a featherfall, but that would have simply slowed Drown's descent as he fell through the floor and would have been plummeting down the 150-foot gorge. However, Drown felt an intense, sharp pain in his shoulder and was jerked sharply toward the edge of the cliff. When he turned his head around to look, he was looking right into the face of a were polar bear who looked right back at him and said, "Easy there, fella. Don't worry, I got you." And that is where we are going to pick up with this session, as I imagine the rest of the Dawnbringers are rushing over to peer into this hole where Drown collapsed through. And you see this massive, this almost 9-foot tall, just massive polar bear, but bipedal, wearing leathers and having bits of things, beads and things tied into its fur. You see that it has Drown.
The spell's not supposed to do that. That's not right. Something broke. That's not part of it.
You see this were polar bear turn its head to look up through the hole at all of you. "Well, it looks like you've got some friends. Here." And with minimal effort, this werebear sort of shifts their hands around and, like a small child, has their hands under your armpits, Drown, and just sort of pulls you up and sets you over here, kind of brushes a bit of snow off your shoulders, and with a big furry paw, "There you go. You should be all right now."
If you're little, what am I?
Brown sort of shakes his coat a little bit to reset it and nods and says, "Thank you. Your intervention was timely."
"Seems that good fortune brought me here to you today."
I am not in a position to disagree.
You notice that for a moment, this werebear looks at you, Drown, and seems to be looking closely into your eyes. You see the head kind of cocked to one side. They reach out a big pawed hand and just gently, kind of as if like somebody looking to see if you have a blackened eye, they just gently turn your head from side to side.
Yeah, Drown just sort of, impassively lets them move his face and examine.
"You are missing a part of yourself. Something has been taken from you. Something that changed you." "Tell me, Goliath, what is your name?"
Called Drown.
"You are called Drown, but what is your name?"
He shakes his head and says, "That is all there is."
"You have no tribe, do you?"
Not anymore.
"There is a story here. Perhaps one day you will tell it to me." But
You haven't met Drown, really, have you?
Well, I haven't met any of you.
He doesn't talk much. Like, that's probably his, per capita per day.
I suspect.
Drought actually chuckles and says, perhaps I will make a note if the story ever appears.
Well, I suspect that you have more than enough talkers in your company to fill your silences. Shall you come down here, or shall I come up there, so that we may meet properly?
I don't know that I would recommend you going inside. The floor gave way under me.
That is actually why I was headed up here. To resupply and check on the state of the cabin. It's been many months since I've been here.
Oh. Thorgarn, you can take this one.
So I guess, I'll look through the home and things supposed to get set on fire with this? I'll hold up the orb.
I do not know what that is. Come. We'll build us a fire. We will keep warm around it, and you can tell me what brings you here to this cabin. And, from the looks of you, we're far from home. Not a one of you is dressed for this cold weather.
Say that again.
Come. Drown. Help me. And the bear just sort of motions and kind of motions for you to follow and leads out around where you can now see their footprints where they came from around, similar to where you all entered, except you can see that there is a sledge that is piled with, it's covered in some animal skins, like tarps, and you can see that there is quite a bit of firewood stacked on there, and they walk over and just begin to unload some of the firewood and begin to make a fire.
Thorgarn will assist, where possible. I do believe I'm actually proficient in survival, so I'm certain there's probably some cold weather techniques that Thorgarn doesn't know that he'd be happy to listen and learn.
And yeah,
so if I remember correctly, there was only like one part of the main room that broke away. We examined a bunch of it, and the floor seemed stable. So like there was the other bedroom where the other half of the fireplace was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does everybody come outside to where Drown and this newcomer are?
Sure.
Yep.
As soon as the fire's going, I'm still shivering. I have a lot of exposed skin, and it's very cold. Very cold.
It doesn't take long for the werebear to build up a fire and have it roaring. Seeing you watching Thorgarn, they would make it a point, though not saying anything, just allow you to. They would allow you to observe, and almost like they shift a little bit so you can see what they're doing. And there's not much difference in the way that they're building the fire here, but that they do keep their flint and steel secured wrapped in waterproof oilskin to keep it dry. In the process of, once the fire's going and as everybody's warming up, they take a few moments to unload the rest of the wood and stack it outside on the edge of the cabin. They set a couple crates down at the base of the stairs to be taken up later. But they also go through the sledge and pretty much strip all of the furs that were used as tarps and that were used in there. And I'll say that there's a total of 3 of them. One of them they bring right over to you, Gerithan, and drape the fur over your shoulder. And then holds up the remaining 2 to at this point, and we forgot to mention that there is another person accompanying a human girl by the name of, I forgot her name. Oh my gosh, it just left my lips.
I want to say Yesha.
Yesha, yeah. No, not Yesha. Yeah, Yesha. I was gonna say Yasha, but that's a different game.
No, it's Yesha.
It's Yesha.
Yesha. I'm pretty sure it's Yesha.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes.
So Cantriel, they would sort of offer the one fur out to you. And I think would definitely give the other one to Yesha then, the ones that seem to be the coldest. And all of this takes place, it only takes about maybe 10-15 minutes, where there's a bit of work. If you try to talk to them, they will just grumble, maybe hold up a finger until everything's all settled. And then they come over to near the fire, leaving plenty of room for all of you. And they just sort of crouch down on the ground, and look at all of you. There. Now we have a roaring fire. And some furs and some supplies to help warm you up. I am Oya Menartok.
Do you have a nickname?
I
Or
do
would you
not
mind
have
repeating
a
it?
nickname. I do not travel typically with others, so nobody has given me a nickname.
Would you mind saying your name again one more time?
Not a problem at all. Oya Menartok.
Well, we can either call you Oya or Menartok or Oya Menartok.
Oya Menartok will do.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, men are what?
Oya Menartok.
Oh yeah, men are talk.
Something like that. Close. Yep, that'll work.
Oh, yeah.
Are we really not going to discuss the fact that this bear is standing up and walking around wearing armor? Things
Is
of
that
nature?
Is that something that
really
shocks
the
you?
craziest thing you've seen?
Yeah, is that something that
Considering
shocks
what
you?
we saw back
Lately,
with Golthias, you're going to question this one?
but it's just not going to be a thing.
Is that any stranger than seeing a couple of underdressed dwarves roaming on the top of my mountains?
Guess it depends on the way you party.
I like them. Leave them alone.
What he helped out Drown. He built us a fire, warming up our friends here. I say we absolutely give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm not trying to besmirch your character, Bear, but how did you come to be a bear who walks and talks? If it's not too personal a question.
It is not. I understand your noticing the oddness, the peculiarity of this. But perhaps, would it make you more comfortable if I looked like a polar bear? And
Wait, that's an option.
as they say this, and they kind of, you see they sort of change their position a little bit, and the proportion of the appendages changes a bit, and they now look more like a polar bear.
Well, Talmud, which do you prefer?
However, you're the most comfortable, honestly.
Does this make you more comfortable? And there's another shift, and the fur seems to recede, and now, instead of a polar bear or a humanoid polar bear, you actually see the fur recede, revealing tattooed gray skin like drowns. And you see a Goliath woman standing before you. Though I must admit, this form is not as suited for roaming the tundra as I do.
I think the first go around makes more sense, yes.
However, you're the most comfortable. Absolutely. It's just a very fascinating ability, gift, curse. He kind of like leads that out there with a
Talent.
question mark. Talent.
She shakes her head, and as she does so, you see the hair just suddenly go pure white, and just in a second, you see the werebear form standing there once again. Yes, it is a bit chilly for that form. I am what is called a werebear. One day, perhaps, I will tell you that tale. Tell me, dwarf, or the rest of you. First of all, I have given you my name. Will you tell me your names? I already have heard Drowns.
Thorgarn
happy.
Spirit Caller.
Thorgarn Spirit Caller.
My name is Talmud of Clan Gedown.
Talmud of Clan Gedown.
I'm happy to make your acquaintance. I'm Cantriel Cavatina.
Cantriel Cavatina.
Yes, but you know what? You can call me You can call me Triel. That'll work.
Triel. I see perhaps a hint at why you were looking for a nickname from me.
Well, there's signs of endearment.
Curious. And what of you, young lady? Looking down at Yesha. Yesha just... Yes, Yesha. Save your strength, little one. Yesha. And what of you? You have the look of a warrior, but a warrior who is far outside his elements.
Huddling by the fire. Gerithan, Gaian, Gathar. I am out of my element.
Gerithan, Gaian, Gathar.
That's right.
Welcome, all of you, to Icewind Dale. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Griffith also would give his name as Sir Griffith Longsmore, servant of Eldath. And Minartok would repeat that back. A stalwart, holy warrior. You shall grow quite cold in that armor up here, no doubt. Well, Tell me, friends, how is it you find yourself to be here? Clearly unplanned for.
Short and sweet, magic.
Yes, magic can do that, and many other things. And she just makes this sort of gesture, looking down at her own form. You know, I wasn't scheduled to come to this cabin for resupply for another 3 months. But a few days ago, I saw a peculiar sight. Something that I thought to be the work of magic of some sort. And I came this way to investigate.
Didn't happen to see a group of people by any chance, did you?
It was not people that I saw, but a ship sailing amongst the clouds. But it did not look like the airships I have seen, for they would not have fared well at all in this weather. The last I saw of this ship, it was also not doing well. I swear I saw the ship plummeting to the snows below, but I lost it in the blizzard. I saw some signs back that way of a recent avalanche, but no signs of the ship. This wouldn't have anything to do with all of you now, would it?
Is she pointing the direction of the ship we were on?
Absolutely.
Chances are rather high that that answer is going to be yes.
So you were on this ship and you crashed here?
Well, no, not on the ship when it... We were on
No.
part of the ship when it decided to finish crashing.
There was a period of time between when it crashed and when it continued crashing, and we were on it at that time, but not when it was crashing.
Did you see it when it hit the mountaintop or when it fell down into the ravine?
I saw it falling from the skies upon which it flew, but I lost it in the blizzard. But this ship is somehow connected to you.
That's my ship.
It's your
Was.
ship.
Well, it was. Yeah. Well, technically, for a little bit, it was. You know.
Very interesting.
But there were people who were supposed to be on the
On
ship.
it.
Our crew, to some extent, our friends, and we were looking to try and see what happened to them. Get us to civilization. Find more appropriate garments for the weather.
Well, unfortunately, you have found yourself in a very dangerous place for people not accustomed to the cold. As I said, welcome to Icewind Dale. You spoke earlier, dwarf, of curses. Well, this entire land, it seems, is cursed. For the last 2 years, the sun has not risen, and the snows have not stopped.
Well, that makes things problematic.
The people of the north have adapted, but would love to see the sun again someday.
You know how those
Why is
people
it that we
feel.
always end up in the strangest places?
Without sunlight. It's a running trend.
Most unfortunate luck you've had.
Well, I wouldn't call it luck. Quite the opposite.
It's like someone has it out for us.
Well,
Didn't see the dragon.
which dragon are you talking about?
All I could tell you is that a white one it appeared to be.
Like big
We
flappy
saw-
flying kind.
We saw very little of it, but it was flying over where we found half of our ship.
Oh yeah, Manartok sort of rises from her haunches and seems to suddenly look around. When did you see this white dragon?
Recently.
X time interval ago.
If you have seen the dragon, that is just another darkness, piled on top of darkness.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I had to.
Was that a rubber glue situation? Just bringing it right back from
for
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
You're certain that you saw a white dragon?
It was a
Yes.
glimpse in the blizzard.
Pray to whatever gods it is that you serve, that you do not run into this white dragon again. For if you saw a white dragon here upon the tundra, it is most certain that you saw Arviaturus.
Is it that bad?
When have you heard of people running into non-metallic dragons and it being a good thing?
I mean, the last dragon didn't fare very well meeting us.
I can see as she walks over towards Griffith and seems to pass around looking closer at him.
Oh, that wasn't the last one.
If you did indeed see Arviatrix, she will not like this. As Griffith, as a reminder, is wearing white dragon scale armor.
That was his idea, not ours. Literally his idea.
As I said, pray you do not run into this dragon again. Now, looking at you, Thorgarn, she holds out her hand. May I see that device you showed me earlier?
Of course. I wish Fig was here to take a look at it, but don't have any luck there.
Sorry.
Nothing
She-
against you.
She turns it around in her hands and... I know not what this is. You found it in the cabin?
Yep, nearly killed us too.
Well,
Looks like the fellow that was here before us dropped it. Looks like it might have taken him
Actually
out
killed
along
him.
with the part of the cabin.
I smell the flames, the ash, and the death. It has been over 6 months since I was last here, and as I said, I was not due here for another 3 months. I do not know what this is, but perhaps if it almost killed you, you should leave it alone. Maybe don't go...
I
don't
would
think
last
it
this
was
time.
What? Like 3 of you said something at once?
All together now.
I said you
Tell
really don't
Talmud
know us well,
laughs.
do you?
Okay, hold on. One at a time. Talmud, you go first.
I said Talmud laughs this time.
Thorgarn says you really don't know us very well, do you?
I said it's supposed to control the weather.
She just begins laughing boisterously at that as she sort of tosses it back to Thorgarn. As I said, the sun left 2 years ago. The snows have not stopped since. The only thing that controls the weather here is not something you want to encounter. Better to face Arviatris.
Well, we're brought here for some reason. There's always something. But if the sun is not risen in quite some time, then perhaps we're here for that reason. You know, this might seem a little crazy, but they kind of refer to us as the Dawnbringers. I kind of like look over to Griffith.
The Dawnbringers, you say?
Yes.
I've never heard of you.
Oh, thank God.
Not saying we're, famous or whatever, but we've done some things.
That one will, and she points to Griffith.
We gotta work on branding.
Mm-mm.
Griffith has been uncharacteristically quiet. More often than not, when anybody says something to him, he's been staring off in the direction of the gorge, just kind of seeming to stare off into space, distracted. I'm trying to find something. Oh, there we go. There we go. She says to you, no, don't do that. She says to you, though, since you have no ship, you have very little in the way of warm clothing. The good news, amongst all of this bad news, is that you can travel not far to find clothing and supplies and lodging. Right now, if you travel down here, and she indicates a direction mostly towards the west, in just a few miles, you will find a river. You follow that river to the southwest, and you will see some of the only trees that you will find in Icewind Dale. A small forest known as the Lonely Wood, which also happens to be the name of the town located there. Following the road, you will travel, or be able to travel, to any and all of the 10 towns you wish. I will not impede you from staying here at this cabin, though you've already seen that it is in need of repair.
Most of the structure seems sturdy enough. It was only that one spot of the floor that couldn't bear my weight. It might be best to shelter inside and then set out after we rest.
This is a wise thing. I will linger a bit longer to make repairs to the cabin, so that whatever travelers may happen upon it in the future, it will be safe for them. I am thankful that I was here precisely at the moment I was to save you. It is clear that you have business of your own to attend to. What is everybody's passive perception? Or more precisely, does anybody besides Cantriel have a passive perception of 18 or higher?
I see smell. What do I see, Jake?
It's not what you see, it's what you hear.
Ooh.
And only because I've been watching this show, it now in my mind sounds like the sound of the TARDIS appearing. But there's this sort of whining, undulating sound that doesn't sound natural. This sort of...
What is that noise?
And you notice that Oya Minartok has also heard it and is instantly looking around. And in the direction you came from, you all see the snow begin to kick up in swirling eddies across a quite large area. And then you see a most peculiar sight as a large metal fortress appears in the tundra before you.
Is that normal for here?
Gerithan, you recognize this fortress immediately as the adamantine fortress you sought in the Underdark and that you saw right before you were taken away.
As I live and breathe.
So you know this.
This is what I was looking for.
Found it.
Why? Thank you, Thorgarn.
That
How did it get here? What is this?
that fortress
It's not your
is-
beautiful house?
It's that fortress is made out of adamantine.
Well,
Whole thing.
it's obviously mine. It goes with my armor.
Talmud's gonna take off running towards it.
Is it like suspended over the canyon or something?
No, it actually lands in the snow a little ways in front of you. And Talmud, as you begin running, you get about 100 feet from the entrance of this, and you run smack dab into an invisible barrier.
Oh,
Hard too. It's probably like a crunch, and he like gets up, and his nose is like out of alignment. There's like blood coming down the front of it.
Yeah, you take 1 point of bludgeoning damage from it.
He like reaches up and kind of roughly like snaps his nose back into place.
Oh.
And as you look, you see that the front entrance to this fortress opens up, and you see, it's hard to tell. There's light streaming out. You see a silhouetted humanoid figure, but there's snow swirling around. It's really hard to tell. The figure takes a few steps forward, and you see silhouetted in the door 4, 5, 6 other humanoid figures. This one figure steps forward, turns around, and just waves back at the others. And you hear this sound of that and a big swirl of wind, and the fortress vanishes. The wind kicks up and you cannot see for a moment Talmud. And then out of the swirling snow, you see a shiny, copper-clad humanoid figure who looks incredibly familiar to you. And Fig, having said goodbye to your clockwork companions, you see Talmud sitting down in the snow in front of you where he was dropped on his butt after banging into the invisible barrier. And just beyond him, you see a dark wood cabin and the rest of the Dawnbringers.
I imagine, Talmud, that so the figure comes forward and you can't really make out what it is. You're probably tearing up because of your nose being broken and and it's freezing to your cheeks, and you can't see, but the figure comes up, and before you even registers who or what it is, you feel 2 arms wrap around you in this huge hug, and you hear the voice. It is so good to see you again.
Fig? Talmud's gonna kind of like look up, trying to find Fig's face.
And he kind of like holds her shoulders and goes back, and you see that it's him.
Well, Fig, as I live and breathe, where did you came on that thing?
Yes,
You're just riding around in metal castles now?
it was the fastest way to reach you.
What? You're a wonder, Fig. Everybody, he's gonna turn around. Look what I found! He's gonna like drag Fig back towards the rest of the group.
Drown had stood up and called his staff forth, and the spray of seawater froze into kind of long curved icicles off the length of it as it appeared. And he sort of relaxes a little bit, and the staff vanishes and the ice drops to the ground, and he just sort of nods at Fig. It is good to see you safe.
Gerithan kind of had run out, part kind of behind Talmud before the fortress ended up disappearing, and he's just kind of standing there with confusion. As Fig kind of approaches, he says, "You are no Gith. No Gith Sarai at all."
I am not. Are you disappointed?
A bit. I was led to believe that fortress would house my people, would take me home. But I was deceived. Obviously.
Fig just tilts his head. It still holds your destiny, your purpose there.
What?
I will explain more in the future, but if you do not mind, I would like to see my friends. And he puts his hand on your shoulder. He's just, thank you for keeping them safe.
Of course. He's still clearly racked with confusion, but steps aside.
At that point, Cantriel will be like, sort of nudging him. Excuse me, pardon you. Oh, you're done now, right? Excuse me. And she'll like catapult herself towards Fig.
Yeah, Fig. Just, I imagine he like holds on to her, but like very clumsily. This is very new for him, the whole human contact thing. So, but it is so good to see you, Triel.
It is the best thing to see you, Fig.
You chose a very interesting place to be at this moment. He looks at the cold.
That kind of more chose us than we chose it. You know how it goes.
Yes.
So
I suppose you're going to say hi
Thorgarn
to Thorgarn. And she'll like drop herself down.
Thorgarn would also give a, kind of weird, awkward hug. Probably stumble over some words about, wondering if, we would ever get to see you again. And then, shove this, golden-esque sphere in your face. We found this. It's supposed to fix weather. Help.
Basically, not much has changed.
Of course. And he grabs it and he would have a look at it. Does he recognize it or know anything?
You wouldn't recognize it, but as you're turning it over in your hands, you notice about 10 feet away from you, Gerithan is standing there. He hasn't come running over to you. He just stands there in his armor. His I don't remember if it's canon that Gerithan has a cape, but for the purposes of this, he does. His cape is just sort of fluttering in the breeze, as is his hair, and he just looks over at you and kind of gives you one of these. It is good to see that Eldath kept you safe, Fig.
It is good to see you also, Gerithan.
Go ahead and give me an intelligence arcana check as you're studying this device.
21.
You realize looking at this that this appears to be a damaged magical device that, though you don't fully understand how it works, that it's intended that the combination of these interconnected rings and this stone in the middle and the runes upon it, it's intended to be able to control the weather. But it's clearly malfunctioned. It's mass manufactured in Neverwinter. It's got a made in Neverwinter stamp. No, it's clearly malfunctioned at some point. And you would all hear behind you at the cabin, you hear this sound of and you even hear a bit of as Minartok has apparently left you all to your reunion and is already beginning to make repairs in the broken floor of the cabin. And we're going to go ahead and, even though we got a bit of a late start, we're going to stay on time with our break that we usually take right now. This is a great point to take a break, and we'll sort of do just a little bit of a television style time jump, to, a half hour, an hour, whatever we end up doing, to continue on with this story as Fig has now reunited with the Dawnbringers. And there's a werebear amongst them, and they've learned of Arviatris, the white dragon, and other things to be learned. So thank you, everybody who was tuned in. It does look like we've had a couple of blips with the stream health, but we're going to keep powering through as long as we can. Just for everybody that's come in after the start, if we do drop for some reason, we will continue to play offline, and we'll make the VOD available post haste. So we will see you on the other side of 10 minutes. And we're back. And we're having a little bit of a screen wipe. It is now later in the evening. Already several hours have passed since the Dawnbringers first arrived and showed up here at this cabin, attempting to get warm. Got themselves excessively warm briefly in an explosion. Almost fell through, well, did fall through the floor, almost fell down the gorge, met a werebear, Magic Fortress appeared, their friend Fig showed up. It's now later in the evening. What was the fire that was roaring as a bonfire outside? Oh my gosh. I moved my piece of paper that had my spelling.
It's Oh Yeah, Men Are Talk.
Minartalk has reinforced the floor, repaired the broken boards, has shifted a couple of the support beams underneath. That workshop might be a little chillier. Some of the beams or boards and stuff have been pulled from that section since it had a broken window in order to make some of the repairs. But she has said that at a future stop, she will come by within the next few months and make additional repairs now that she knows what's needed here. She has said that she will stick around at least until morning before she continues on her travels. But right now there's this sort of transition from the fire pit outside to fire roaring in the hearth. The interior of the cabin is now comfortably cozy and safe to walk about. Everybody is sort of winding down a bit. Mintarak brought some dried foods and preserved foods, plus your own rations, whatever you're able to throw together a decent meal. In the interim, Fig has spent quite a bit of time relaying his tale, and you've been catching Fig up. Sort of, I imagine almost this back and forth. Oh yeah, and then this happened. Oh, that must be when we were doing this. And as you guys spend a few hours catching each other up on what has transpired in this time. And now belly's full, body's warm. You're all just kind of sitting around. And it's getting towards evening, so what would you like to do, Dawnbringers?
I think Talmud is finishing telling the story for probably the third time, and he's just got tears streaming down the sides of his face. And then Thorgarn shot right out of the side of the building. It fell. I don't even know how far it was. It was the funniest thing that I've ever seen. He almost didn't make it.
Have you by any chance dipped into one of those bottles of cure that you have?
Oh, hell yes.
You understand that shit was like lined with swords, right?
That was a bit gruesome and overkill, I think.
Would this be kind of considered like a long rest?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'll give you the benefits of a short rest.
Okay. Kind of need them.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and spend any. I should have told you that. You can go ahead and spend any hit dice or short rest features. You would have access to Cantriel's Song of Rest.
Yeah, I think that's what's that now. I think that might be a D8 now.
It's at least a D8, if not a D10.
Yeah, it's a D8. It's a D8.
I think
now.
when you had us level, I think I might have accidentally hit the long rest.
You leveled like 6 episodes ago.
So that definitely wasn't it. But I'm at full hit points. So
I don't think you've taken any damage since you arrived here, so.
that's right. I was outside of the cabin when it blew up.
Yeah, you're fine. Not
Thanks.
not everybody is. Cantriel
Some
definitely
of us
needs
aren't
some
as
healing.
hardy.
I say Cantriel's in the red,
Mm-hmm.
and Thorgarn was depleted a bit.
I'm bad.
Not as bad.
So Talmud's retelling, each version getting a little more lavish and slurred as the bottle of Kirgin gets emptier and emptier.
Sure. Did you partake?
Who, me?
No.
I was going to say. Is that really a question?
Drown will kind of break in while he's telling the story, and when they're talking about the chute lined with swords being overkill, and he says, "It is demonstrably not overkill. He survived."
Well,
I don't
you
know
got
if
me
you're
there.
joking or if you're being serious right now.
That's the thing about Drown.
So
You never
Drown
can
looks at
tell.
Cantriel, like a little bit confused, just kind of looks over at Thorgarn, then back at Cantriel, and just sort of shakes his head and shrugs.
I need to teach this one sarcasm.
Big just is listening intently to all of this. You can see that he's just loving every minute of this banter, just looking back and forth, and then, oh, I almost forgot. I got you all something. And he's going to take off his hat and reach into his bag to take out some toys.
So you reach into your hat, your wizard's hat, that is actually a hat of holding, and you begin digging around, and you're reaching around more, and you're used to being able to find whatever you look for as soon as you reach in. But you cannot find these toys that you're looking for, that you found in the box of Kiswid's miniatures in the Clockwork Castle. They're not there, but yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, so imagine Fig like rustles, rummages. You hear just a cacophonous sound of glass hitting each other and moving around, and bottles, and maybe even like a small explosion you hear within the hat. And smoke begins to rise out of it, and Fig just... That is quite odd. I am sorry to say I misplaced your gifts. I found some toys where I was, small things, and I got one for each of you.
Well,
Fig,
it's the thought that counts.
Fig, as you
Just
pull
having you back is good enough.
your arm out of the hat, you feel your left arm feels different. There's a change in not the appearance of it, but the weight distribution within. It's not at all dissimilar to on your right arm, where you have the compartment where you house a couple of different wands. It feels like there's something in there, inside your left arm. You all get a domain die. Somebody just tipped.
Ooh,
We're gonna,
thank you.
that's how that works. Thank you.
Fig is going to just feel along of his arm, just like patting it down, seeing if he can feel anything.
As you run your hand across your forearm, sort of like in this configuration, so kind of on the upper side of the forearm, you run your hand along there, and as you do so, a piece of the forearm metal just goes shh and slides aside, telescoping closed, or rather open, and you see in your forearm, you see 6 copper clockwork spheres. As you look at these spheres, you see each one, they're configured of copper plates and gears, and even have a bit of that electric blue arcane energy within them that powers yourself. But each one has a slightly different configuration to it. And as you trace your fingers across them, you realize these match up with what those clockwork toys were. There's symbols etched into each of them on a single circular plate that takes up one location on the each of these spheres. On one of them is etched a cobra. On another one is etched a tiger. Another one has a displacer beast. Another one has an owl bear. Another one has a behir. I was waiting to see what symbols you guys are going to do. And the last one has an etching of yourself.
It's all just Jeremy making those faces that Fig perceives as those animals.
Poor Fig.
Each one now has etched into it Talmud making a different face.
Yes, of course.
What you know is that each of these 6, what were the 5 clockwork toys, and was that clockwork doll that looked like figure 1 or figure 2 Prometheus. You know that they are now housed magically within these spheres. Each one of them, the sphere can be tossed out to an area within 30 feet, and it will summon a clockwork version of that creature at that size. Each one has a different duration that it will last. Each one can only be used one time ever for that duration, at the end of which you know that they will be rendered completely spent. And that will be even quicker if the clockwork creature reaches 0 hit points during the time that it is summoned. These items currently are all attuned to you. If you chose to do so, you could disperse them amongst your allies, and they would have to then attune to the individual one. I will leave that entirely at your discretion.
You know what? I think that Fig would give them to his friends. I honestly would. I think that he would give one to each. This was not what I was expecting. It seems as though these have changed, but they are probably more useful than when I found them.
So now the question is, who are you giving what, and who isn't getting one? Because right now, Gerithan's the extra, and you don't know Gerithan. But that's entirely up to you how you... that's entirely up to you how you want to disseminate those.
Yeah, I think...
I was just going to say, you can decide later if you want. Just leave it at that you give each one out. But who do you not give one to?
I do think it would be Gerithan, but it's because Fig knows that he gets to be in an entire place full of
you know that you have a book that you took from a shelf that you know was intended to be given to him. You have that in your head as well, that is intended to return him home.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that yeah, I imagine that. So I think Fig would, and let's just go with meta irony, is that each person who played the robot gets the one that they chose. Just because Fig has this weird, uncanny, like, I think this would be for you for some reason that he can't explain.
One of the rare times I will allow meta to influence your decision.
Excellent.
So that means
but then, yeah, the one that was
the tiger would then go to Griffith.
tiger. Mm-hmm.
And
then
we'll say that it's a white tiger. That makes sense that Griffith would have it.
And then once he gets to Gerithan, he instead gives him a book, places it in his hand. This is for you.
What is it?
Answers for your questions and your unsureness.
What does the book look like?
The book is not very large, roughly 6 by 9 inches. It's about an inch thick. It's heavy. It's hinged. It doesn't seem to have a standard opening. The cover is hinged. The cover is very intricate filigree on, and actually the image that's depicted on it is comprised of layers of copper plating. But there is a title etched into it as well, and the title is simply Limbo.
I don't hesitate to open the book.
As you open the book, you hear a clicking and a whirring, and you do not see pages. You see intricate clockworks, like multiple, hundreds of tiny whirring gears, and an illumination in the center. And you see that there is right in the center of what would be the front page is a blue gemstone. And all of these gears, it's very quiet. You just hear a sort of a and it seems to be, and then you see this gemstone begin glowing. And you can see in the way that the gears work that simply pressing the gemstone would activate some form of magic. And Fig, you know that this magic will transport the user to Limbo.
I look up to Fig and I just say, what will happen when I press this?
Will be transported back
Home?
to where Fig kind of tilts his head. I do not know where home is for you. I am sorry. I cannot answer that.
I hold up the cover of the book and kind of point to it and just say, Limbo, this is from where I come.
Fig, the book did not say Limbo when you pulled it from the shelf. It didn't even say Limbo on it when you pulled it from your hat.
Does Fig remember what it said?
It didn't say anything. You knew only that it was intended for the placeholder and that it would be used to bring them home.
Wait, I look at the book. Does it still say Limbo?
It does.
Oh.
It says Avernus. Now it says Avernus.
Ah! I've been there before. I don't want to go back.
Keep switching. You got to go in quick when it gets to the.
But it keeps going
the right
1,
one.
2, 3. Weirdly, it stops
It's like
at 9.
It's the boxes in Mario that are rapidly scrolling through items, and you have to hit it to get that star.
Come on, Maui.
I think Fig just. All I know is that it is for you, and it will bring you home.
I kind of clearly starting to breathe heavily with a kind of excitement. And I look up and just very matter of fact say, this is an incredible gift.
So is that what you're looking for?
This is the key home. I kind of furrow my brow for a moment. I stuff the book under my arm and reach into the collar of my shirt, and I pull up this amulet that I've been wearing that looks like a kind of ring, a black ring with silver lining. I take it off. I've carried this with me for a very long time. I found it a very long time ago. I've had it as a kind of charm of hope. It can transfer or transport the holder to a different plane, but it's unpredictable. I used it once before, and that's how I came to the material plane. I was hoping it would take me to limbo. But if this book is the key home, I have no use for this anymore. I slowly just hold it out to you, Fig. I say, you should take it.
This is. I'm sure too, being so kind of attuned with Arcana, he could just sense the magic coming from this thing. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he just said can just feel this magic, and you see, if he breathed, he would take a huge intake of breath at that, and this is incredible. I hope you find happiness when you are home.
It's been a long time. A very long time. But thank you.
I'm glad I could help. And you see Fig offer a hand out to kind of take the amulet.
I drop it in your hand.
He would step back.
Big, you can now add an Amulet of the Plains, which is a very rare magic item and requires attunement. You can add that to your inventory. By this point, Talmud, you notice that Yesha has fallen asleep despite your boisterous storytelling earlier. In the lull of this, she's sort of fallen asleep, curled up in one of the furs with her head on your lap. Gerithan, or not Gerithan, Griffith had eventually removed not all, but some of his armor, and just enough, because with how warm it was getting in there, it was getting warm, and unfortunately, it is canon that Griffith does not wear much under his armor. So he's at least left his his greaves and codpiece and everything in
Just
place.
a posing strap and baby oil. Yep.
Weirdly, he still has his billowing cape on. But he's still been pretty quiet. Mintertalk had excused himself and is actually outside where they're more comfortable. But said that they will be sleeping out there, basically just underneath you, under the cabin. It's hard for a while. It was hard to tell what time of day it was by the light outside because of the perpetual night. But it seems to be that much darker. And the weariness of the day and everything that you've all been through, is starting to wear on you as you begin to prepare for sleep or rest. Is there anything that anybody in particular wants to do before you go to sleep? Would you post up anybody to maintain a fire watch or a guard duty?
Yeah, Drown would definitely take a shift on watch, just, without even thinking about it.
Fig needs just to be inactive, but he can still hear and see as normal, so.
Cantriel only needs like 4 hours to meditate.
Talmud will take first watch, so that way maybe he's not completely falling over and glossy-eyed yet.
Thorgarn will take wherever needs to be done.
Eventually, as people drift off to these, whether you stay in the room near the fire or you move into one of the bedrooms, everybody pulls their guard shifts, and time wears on until the very midst of the night, as best most of you can tell, what would be the equivalent of about 3 a.m. That period between 3 and 4 where night is night and day hasn't yet begun to dawn, where things seem to be the quietest, where no matter where you are and what you're doing, you feel compelled to whisper. It's in this moment, Fig, you are sitting in the main room where you've been for hours, inactive, or rather not moving, inactive in that sense, you're not moving around, but you've had your senses attuned to the blowing snow outside, the creak of the floorboards as people have moved around, or the shifting of a bed in the other room. At one point you hear heavy snoring coming from below you from the werebear. And then you hear heavy snoring coming from Talmud on the other side of the room near the hearth, where Talmud is just sort of fallen asleep, leaning against the side of the fireplace, so as not to disturb Yesha, who has been sleeping soundly, curled under the blanket. And then you hear another sound, Fig. And I would say, Cantriel, since you take on a meditative state, and you've been meditating long enough to have gained your benefits, both of you hear what sounds like rushing water. And it seems to be coming from below the cabin.
You hear this?
Yeah, I think Fig, you would see like the color that was a bit dim in his eyes, the blue, come back to be vibrant again. That is not good.
Everything's supposed to be frozen.
Fig would jump up and run to the door and open it.
You open the door and you're standing on the upper balcony. You have to sort of move along the edge of the cabin and down the stairs. And as you move around there, the two of you move around there and to where you can see the underside of the cabin and where the edge of this gorge is. You see the polar bear curled up in the shadows, still snoring away. But you see this spectral glowing light emanating from where the gorge is. And as you move a little bit closer, you see, though there's no source from the top, you see a massive waterfall cascading down the side of the gorge. And you see, standing there, haloed in this golden light at the top of the gorge, the top of the waterfall, you see Gerithan standing there. He's completely decked out in his armor. He has his helm on with the visor, up. Yeah, you didn't know which way I was going to go with that, did you?
Jake, you threw a topless silo at me on Tuesday.
Right?
Anything can go.
This is the inverse of that. He's got his helmet on. He's got tops on everything. But he's glowing with the illumination that seems to just come from within. And you watch as the mists of the waterfall form for Cantriel and for Fig, form a familiar sight that you have not seen in quite some time as you see the vision of Eldath. She stands on nothing out next to the waterfall. Gerithan turns and looks at both of you and says, "It appears that Eldath has called me to a greater purpose. I don't know what that is, but if my goddess calls to me and she says that I am needed elsewhere, I must go, friends. I hope that you will not hold it against me. But I feel she is telling me that my time with the Dawnbringers has come to an end." Do either of you say anything to Gerithan?
So yeah.
Gerithan stands with his hand on the hilt of his sword, and he looks at you and he gives this almost a salute, as the way one would lifting up the visor on their helm. It's a very formal exchange that he's giving to you, Cantriel. His lips, though, you see are tight, and you can see a little bit of the sadness in his eyes, but he does not press. And he looks at you, Fig.
I think Fig just kind of tilts his head. I am beginning to understand what it means to think, to have a higher purpose. So I wish you luck in finding yours.
And I wish you luck and the blessing of Eldath in whatever you do, Fig. Each of you, separately, Drown, Talmud, Thorgarn, even Gerithan, each of you dreams that night of a waterfall beneath the cabin, of walking to see what it is, and to see Gerithan standing there, telling you that he must go, that his time with the Dawnbringers is at an end. Going around, do either any of you say anything to Gerithan by way of farewell? We'll start with Talmud.
I think finding themselves kind of in this situation, Talmud's a little confused at first, but he sees Gerithan, and I think it's pretty obvious, even to somebody as dense as Talmud, what's going on. And he's going to kind of approach him and extend his hand out, intending to grasp forearms with him.
He does so without hesitation.
He brings his other hand kind of up to the back of Gerithan's hand and kind of just holds him there for just a moment and stares kind of up into like the narrowed eye slits of his helmet. It was an honor to fight with you, Sir Gerithan. You're a man who never shies away from things. Your bravery is certainly something that I will remember. All this fighting with you.
I know you will go on to do great things, is all he says to you. And then he says,
We'll see.
Keep her safe. And in that way that doesn't make sense, but does somehow in dreams, you look over your shoulder at where he indicates, and you see the fireplace that should be up in the cabin above you, but it's not. It's outside, and curled up next to it is Yesha. When you look back, Gerithan is gone. The waterfall is gone. Thorgarn.
So Thorgarn would approach Gerithan just the way his cousin did. Extend a hand. My brother in arms, my brother in battle, my brother to a cause, and gestures up towards the waterfall. You here among us know what it's like to serve the divine. I only hope to one day be able to have a better understanding, a better calling that you have here. In the blackness around us, the light of the Dawnbringers is certainly dimmed by not having you here. You will be missed.
It'll be up to you, Thorgarn, to let your light shine and protect the Dawnbringers. You, all of you. And he looks around you, and as you look, you see the Father, and you see the spirits of those that you've lost in the past, those that stay with you all the time. And when you look back, Gerithan is gone, and the spirits begin to fade. Drown?
Yeah. So Gerithan gives his little "I'm leaving" speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Drown just sort of nods once and says, "I do not hope you die."
Gerithan seems to think about that for a moment and nods. And then he says, I don't know what it is, or where it is, but what you've lost is out there somewhere. You'll find it. Perhaps she can help. And he indicates over to where Oyamenertok sleeps against the foundation of the cabin, snoring lightly. And just like with the others, when you turn to look back, Griveth is gone. And finally, Gerithan.
As Griffith appears, I simply say, it's good to fight alongside you. You're a mighty warrior.
As are you.
I'm sure you'll exact whatever holy justice you have to exact upon the world.
He just sort of chuckles. The Dawnbringers were blessed having you alongside them. It was an honor to fight alongside you. And though you may be gone very soon, you will stay with them. I imagine forever.
Well, if Eldath's will ever brings you to Baldur's Gate, look up Zerth Zaran. My company may be of some help to you.
Zarth Zaran. It is good to know. He gives you a last nod, and then he turns to face the spectral floating form of the goddess Eldath. And as he steps forward, he steps out into nothingness above the waterfall. He and Eldath continue to walk, and they seem to suddenly be obscured by a passing gale of wind carrying snow and swirls. And then darkness. And you all awaken the next morning feeling very well rested. All of your hit dice are recovered in this long rest. So go ahead and recover all of your hit dice. And if you didn't already have some in excess of this, you will all gain 10 temporary hit points on top of your max hit points.
How many, Tim?
10. Some of you may have already had temp hit points.
They go away when you finish a long rest anyway.
Oh,
so there's
okay.
no place
Well,
to-
then everybody's at 10 temp HP. I almost called them... I was stumbling over it and I almost called them hemp HP. These HP are laced with CBD.
I'm stealing that. It's going to be called Temporary HP.
There you go. All right. Well, it is now the next morning. And as everybody is waking up, you don't have to check his room. Somehow you all know that wasn't just a dream, that Griveth has left the Dawnbringers. All right, it's the next day. You're all awake. It's a little bit brighter outside. It's still dark and blizzardy. It's not like full-blown blizzard outside, but snowing, blowing, cold. What would you like to do?
Drown spends a little bit just sort of like at the window looking outside, and it's just more night and aurora, and he just shakes his head and says, "This is disorienting."
Drown, give me a perception check.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. You looked out the window.
10!
Okay. Yeah, it's dark and perpetual winter. Cantriel. You're not quite sure what it is,
You smell danger coming.
but you hear something just below the wind outside. It has an animalistic quality to it, but with that same keen hearing, you can hear Minartok beneath the cabin packing up the sledge, getting ready to head out. And then you hear and you feel on the floorboards, thum, 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 thum. Friends, look alive. We've got something out here. It's good Lord. I keep saying the name and then I suddenly forget how to say it. Minartok. God. I should have gone with V's insistence on a nickname.
I offered it.
You can call her Marty.
Oh yeah. All right. Drown will conjure his staff and head out.
You head outside. Anybody else heading out with Drown?
Yeah,
Cantriel will
definitely.
be going.
Yep.
As you get
I
out
think,
there.
I
Go
think
ahead.
Talmud is going to check on Yesha, and if she is okay, if she needs anything, help getting anything together. Talmud is not quite helicopter parenting, but pretty
Close
close.
enough.
Yeah, for at least for Talmud.
She's like, I'm okay. I feel really well rested.
Okay, good. Because I'm sure we can find some more furs. We'll have you dressed in a way that's
This'll
you'll be more comfortable.
this'll be fine for now.
All right. If you need anything, I'll just be further up the line.
Yeah, there's actually something you could get me. It's outside.
Oh, sure. Yeah, name it.
I don't know. Surprise me.
Okay. He's gonna turn and leave the room.
As you all head outside, the werebear is standing tall enough that her head is about level with your feet on the balcony as you come out and begin moving around. And she's already pointing over in the direction that all of you came from. I'm not sure yet what it is. Can you smell it?
No.
It smells like hot soda and garbage. I'm just kidding. It smells like death.
That is incredibly specific.
It smells like pennies and burps.
Oh God. Jay.
Low stakes poker night?
I suspect you might have an ulcer.
Oh boy. No.
Surprised you can smell anything on this, cold wind.
Perhaps I'm just more attuned to it. Look with your eyes, listen with your ears, perhaps. Then you can sense it.
It's an 11. No.
Everybody can make a perception or investigation check.
0.
Snow blows into your eyes, Drown.
Yeah. Ah.
I smell Talmud.
29.
22. Oh, there you go. Me too. With a 9.
21.
I guess if we were allowed to do investigation, that would be a 7. So
Little better.
Still falls off the cabin and poof, ah.
22.
So anybody that got better than a 12, you see something moving in the snow, like the snow, and then you see it has a vaguely humanoid figure, but it's hunched. It's long. Its arms are too long. Its head doesn't seem to be quite in the right place. Its proportions are wrong. The way it moves is wrong. You do catch just the faintest hint of rotting meat and even horrible body odor. Just a hint of too long, wet fur. See, now you're wishing for pennies and burps. And then you see the tall, gangly form of a blue-skinned, gray-haired troll clambering through the snow. And immediately behind it, flanking it on either side, are two other trolls. I have you roll for initiative. You do have the advantage of having Minartok on your side. So I will grab my paper here.
God, my dice. It's not good.
All
I can
right.
see and hear everything, but I can't roll for squat when it comes to initiative.
Gerithan, what'd you get?
14.
Drown.
6.
Cantriel.
5.
Big.
12.
12.
Yes.
Thorgarn.
10.
Talmud.
Hold on to your butt, because I got a 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'm going to say drown since you're both Goliaths. Go ahead and roll me another d20. Roll initiative for the werebear.
Oh, yeah, Minotaur.
Oh, yeah, Minartok.
I rolled a 19.
Okay. And then so here is going to be the order. It's going to go Talmud, followed by Mindarok, followed by Gerithan, Fig, Thorgarn, Trolls, Drown, and Cantriel. All right, Talmud, you see these 3 trolls come lurching out of the snow. They're clearly coming directly towards you with menace in their eyes.
Well, it must be the season, because menace in the eyes is exactly what Talmud has. So, with all the fashion rage, he is going to then charge forward, brandishing Ghost Cleaver high, and if he can close with one of these trolls, yetis, whatever have you, he's going to bring it down on it twice.
All right, go ahead, roll your attack.
Okay. Let's see. Don't think bonus changed. I did. Okay. Yeah, I can't do that for the first roll for the night. So I'm gonna spend a domain die.
All right.
You are kidding me. Fuck you, too. That's a 1 on the die, so 12. So,
Well, a 1
yeah,
on the die is always a miss.
indeed.
You're not used to going into fighting style on this terrain.
Not at all.
For that first attack, as you go rushing forward, your axe swinging down and striking the snow is more an act of you trying to regain your balance as you slip. Go ahead and take your second attack.
Do you do opportunity attacks on ones?
I generally do, but you were closing on it,
Okay.
and it's one of 2 attacks, so you're lucky.
Well, tell that to my dice. There's the second roll. That's 8 times better. So a 19 total.
Let's see. A 19 will hit.
Sweet.
Well, actually, hold on.
Don't take it away from me, Jake.
Yep, 19 hits.
Okay. Good. Rage bonus is not added in currently. So that's an additional 3, I think, at this point. Okay, so that is 16 magical slashing damage.
All right. You slice into it. Is that the end of your turn?
It is.
Very well, then. The Oya Mintarok. Jeez, I'll get it right one of these days. Marty the Werebear comes charging forward. And is wielding a great axe. And as she goes charging forward, she is going to make 2 great axe attacks. Dan, go ahead and roll those attacks for me.
She's awesome. I got a 19 and an 11.
All right, so the 19 becomes a 27 to hit. And the 11 becomes a 19 to hit. So those both work. So on the first hit, go ahead and roll the damage. Just on the first hit.
7 on the die.
7? So that's going to be... Oh, I should have told you. You probably already knew this, though. It's a D12.
Yep. Great.
So that's 12. The second time she brings her great axe around, she cleaves right through the shoulder of the troll. But one of the trolls has shifted, and you see the axe cleave through it, and it vanishes. It appears to have been an illusory troll. It is now Gerithan's turn.
So there's
Now 2 trolls.
now 2 trolls. One of them Talmud has cut into, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And one that hasn't been touched yet.
Correct.
And how far away are they?
At this point, they're within... You all came out and were basically standing Avenger style watching these things approach. So we'll say that they're, at this point, within 15 feet.
Okay. I will draw my scimitars, and as a bonus action, the flames in my gauntlets well up and the blades burst aflame themselves. And I will rush forth at the troll that has not been attacked yet.
All right.
And I'm going to unleash the torrent on it. So let's go ahead and do some cool attack rolls. I'm going to use a domain die for fun. This is my last chance to use them. You know I got to use them.
Jack's just going to burn through a domain die on every dice roll.
We've got so many. I mean, 21 on the first attack.
Yep, that's a hit.
Do I cut into it, or do I...
As you bring your ice scimitar, your flaming scimitar
Flame
down,
scimitar.
you cut right through the neck of this troll, and it vanishes.
Thought so. Oh, got that one out of the way.
There's now one troll standing there.
Would it be possible to look around? Is there some sort of caster? Like
You can go ahead and make
summoning these illusions?
You can use your second attack if you want to use that to look around and make an investigation check.
Okay. Would I then be able to make my third attack? And well, I wouldn't move to the fourth, but I have 3 attacks.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. You're level 12.
Yeah.
Yes, you can use one of your attacks to do an investigation check. As you just swing down and then you're like...
Yeah, I'll kind of like, wait, what? And I'll make an investigation check then. 21.
You do not see any signs of anybody that is wielding any kind of magic.
Huh.
Other than your own party.
Well, I guess I'll just kind of spin into this next troll, the real troll of Icewind Dale, and cut into it for a 22.
It's a hit.
Going to remember how the psionics work now because it's cool and changed from when I started it. Psionic strike. I'll use a psionic energy die to deal an additional d10 of force damage as the this kind of purplish, very faint psionic force almost feeds the flames and fans them up, and they well with this new purple light. And I deal 11 plus 4 plus 4, 19 points of damage.
And there's fire damage in there?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There's more. None of that was fire damage because I didn't roll it because I'm a fool. But 4 points of additional fire damage are dealt.
How many?
4.
4.
Mm-hmm.
You said that very forcefully. How many? 4!
4! 4!
That was the sound of a son yelling at his dad.
Come on!
All right. Yeah, you've managed to do a fair amount of damage to this troll already. And it appears to still be the only troll in the area. Are you done, Gerithan?
I'm going to, I don't know if it'll be of any use, but I can just do this. Because I have the slasher feat, I would like to reduce the speed of this troll by 10 feet.
Sure. Yeah, as you
Good
cut
luck
into
getting
it, you
away
cut into
now.
its leg. You cut into its leg.
For sure, that's the end of my turn.
All right, Fig, you are up.
Fig reaches down and picks up a handful of snow, and he closes his fingers around the snow, and you see this glow of arcane blue, this flash, and some of the snow around his hand melts, and when he opens it up, you see these 6 perfectly spherical orbs of ice, and he throws them up directly up into the air. They have this like arcane blue glow to them, and they almost seem to pause, and they fly forward at this troll as he casts magic missile.
All right, 6 magic missiles. I love the ice flavoring.
And that is going to do 24 points. I rolled ahead of time.
All right.
That is
Thorgarn,
his turn.
So how far away is this troll?
about 15 feet.
So seeing everybody, kind of rush in, Thorgarn takes Forge Fane and just gives it a chuck as he begins charging forward. First attack is a 30 to hit.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that does. So that is going to be 14 points of damage. So it comes back to me, and I kind of reel in, with the newly resumed weapon for a 25 to hit.
Also a hit.
And I will put in a bit of smite into that one. So that is 21 points of damage. And then my third attack is only going to be an 11.
An 11 will miss. And with Gerithan, Thorgarn, and Talmud all right up on this troll, it roars in all of your faces. Just this, it's almost turning immediately to ice as the spit and slobber comes out of its mouth, and now it really smells like pennies and burps. And then, as it does so, you all notice it's got these jagged tusks coming up, and on one of the tusks, there is a band of metal, almost like jammed down onto the tooth, and it bites down, and you see for a moment, you see a flash of blue light from this band of metal, and before your eyes, this troll doubles in size. And it is going to make its 3 attacks. One at each of you, Gerithan, Talmud, and Thorgarn.
Disadvantage.
As it... What's that?
They're all at disadvantage. Because he's crawling with Dwarven spirits at the moment.
Good thing, because I rolled a crit, and I rolled a 9. That 9 does become a 16, which I think misses you. Or does it hit you? Thorgarn, or Talmud. 16 hits or misses?
It is a miss.
Okay.
I have a 17.
So as it takes a swipe at you, it just misses you. Talmud, or Thorgarn, dang it. With disadvantage, that becomes an 18 to hit.
18 hits.
That is going to do...
Oh, wait. I have Spirit Shield. So some of those spirits that are swarming around him are going to start to clamor all over his hairy arm. And even though they're incorporeal, they're going to manage to weigh it down a little bit. And I'm going to soak up 3d6 of that damage.
Okay, well... Initially, you're going to take the first blast of damage is 20 points of piercing damage plus 23 points of cold damage.
43 points of damage. Ow.
Yep. And 2d6 of that's going to get soaked up by the Spirit Guardians. Or Spirit Shield.
It is actually 3d6.
Or 3d6, that's fine.
It totaled out to 13 points.
All right, so 46 becomes 33.
And Gerithan, it is going to attempt to bite you, but that's only a 10 to hit. So now all of you can see that this troll is twice as big as it was. Drown, it is your turn.
All right. Drown is going to scowl a little bit at what just happened. You said this thing is like blue and gray skinned as opposed to the normal troll. palette.
Yeah, it's sort of grays and whites in its fur,
Yeah.
almost like it could blend
And-
easily in with the snow.
Right, and it looks
Snow and
pretty
rocks.
unperturbed at the blizzard and all that good stuff. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
pretty obviously an Arctic dweller. Okay, so that takes just a whole pile of my stuff off the table. Let's go ahead and so Drown will reach out toward him with one hand open, kind of clutching. His eyes shine with that green deep sea light, and his tattoos writhe with those spectral green tentacles, and those tentacles appear around the giant troll. I'm going to cast a spell magic on it to see if we can make this bigness go away.
All right. I gotta check something. Missed that. Oh wait, yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, because that's anything of level 3 or lower is just automatically dispelled. Yeah.
Level 5 because I'm a cheating warlock,
Okay.
but yes.
Then absolutely, as soon as you cast Dispel Magic,
Awesome.
it drops
So
back
those-
down to its normal size, which is still quite
these
large.
Ghostly tentacles wrap around it and then rip the shimmering threads of magic away and vanish.
As it kind of goes, and suddenly seems less fierce, or less fierce than it did a few seconds ago.
And that's my turn.
Cantriel.
Right, so she's going to sort of narrow her eyes looking at this thing. Ah, not so big and so tough, are you now? And she's going to fire off 2 shots. First one is a 21 to hit.
That's a hit.
And she's whispered a little phrase to herself. She's not activating Sempre. She's just using her Slayer's Prey instead. So that's going to be 16 piercing for the first one. And then the second one does a 14 hit.
14 does not hit.
So then the second arrow would go wide.
Yeah, that one does not hit. That is going to bring us back up to Talmud. Talmud, you take 13 points of cold damage at the start of your turn. This thing is just radiating cold energy from it.
I have Boots of the Winterland.
Which give you resistance?
I think so. I'm looking it up. Hang on. Boots of the Winterlands. Yep. I have resistance to cold damage.
So you'll take 7.
Okay, cool.
7 cold damage. And it's your turn.
Okay, so I think the snow and the altitude has already got Talmud kind of breathing heavy just after this, what would normally be a pretty normal amount of exertion for him. But especially since he's raging, he's kind of, his breath is starting to form these icicles on his lips and his facial hair surrounding his mouth because of how cold this thing is. And he kind of shakes, his eyelids are starting to try to, freeze open, and just fights through it as best he can, bringing Ghost Cleaver, spinning kind of around horizontally and trying to cut into this furry monstrosity. That's 23.
And that's a hit.
The second will be even prettier. 29.
All right. Roll that damage. There's no more illusory trolls, so
Right. Okay. So the first is. I have Savage Attack. I'm going to re-roll that. That's better. 17 points on the first one. 14 points on the second.
How do you want to end this?
Ooh. So he spun around horizontally, kind of backwards, and cuts the troll kind of right across the midsection, and some of the viscera inside of the troll kind of spills out onto the snow, like the steam immediately kind of arising from this gore that's just happened. And the beast kind of pauses and looks down, and in that moment, just the hesitation where it looks down and opens itself up to attack, Talmud turns around and finishes with kind of an uppercut from Ghost Cleaver and clefts the lower jaw of this creature all the way up to the middle of its skull.
As you do so, Ghost Cleaver cuts through the jaw, and one of those fangs, the one with that metal ring on it, breaks loose and goes kind of arcing overhead. Before it even goes very far, Nerdarchy just goes, reaches up. Let me see if she can do that. Oh yeah, absolutely. And she grabs this tooth that's flying through the air, and she would actually hold it out to you, Talmud, you having done the kill.
Talmud kind of turns around, realizing that it's now completely over with, and kind of coming back to his own senses for the moment. He kind of stares startled at the tooth for a second. Well, thank you. He'll reach out and kind of take it, not entirely certain why he's been given it or that he was the one who felled the creature in the end.
As soon as you take it from her hands, she moves over to the fallen troll. She reaches at her side and she pulls out a bone dagger, and she immediately starts cutting in where you cleaved open its side. She cuts away more of the flesh, and so that she can reach her big werebear hand up into the rib cage. And you hear this sloshing sound as she's reaching her hand around in the interior. And all of a sudden, she pulls out this massive lump of dark blue, almost black muscle. She rips out the heart of the ice troll. She holds it out to you, Talmud, and she says, "This was your kill. This is yours to consume."
Talmud's gonna kind of step back, almost like completely disgusted at this, and I think he pulls back just a bit, but then a ghostly visage like appears glowing out of his face, and it's the crazy cousin, Torkenfell. He leaps forward far enough out of Talmud to actually take a bite out of this thing and brings it and falls back into Talmud. And Talmud's like, well, it's
all of it. It's very cold.
So maybe we could roast it first
No,
over the
now.
fire? Or...
Eat it now.
Oh, a second bite, right. And he does so. And he kind of takes it, and he's just gonna muscle it down.
All right, go ahead and make me a con save.
Well,
Luckily, I'm good at those. Unless I roll like that, I'm gonna spend a domain die.
good call.
Ooh, that's better. Things like a hot pocket.
It's not, though. It's the opposite.
Okay, so that is a 24 on my con save.
So you keep it down. You power through.
Oh, it's kind of pennies. I see what you mean.
With her hands still covered in the gore and the ichor, She claps you on the back, Talmud. Welcome to Icewind Dale. For the next 24 hours, Talmud, whenever you're in combat, you will regain 5 hit points at the start of your turn, unless you take fire or acid damage.
How long did you say? The next 24
For the
hours?
next 24 hours.
Excellent.
Oya Mintarok tells you all, you have awakened the denizens of the tundra. They know you're here. But sometimes you can take advantage of them. The ice trolls. If you kill one, eat its heart, gain its regenerative ability. But only if you stop it from regenerating first. As she indicates over to Gerithan, who struck it with the flaming swords. Or you could bury it in the snow and summon a blizzard. There are many more properties the troll's heart will bring. Seeing you all fight here today, you will do well. I roamed the tundra, and I traveled the sea of moving ice. I range these lands as protector and guardian, but I do not go into the cities, for I am not welcome there. I feel certain, Dawnbringers, that our paths will cross yet again. And as if you didn't just fight a troll, she goes to her prepared sledge and makes the final preparations. And within moments, she is trudging away through the snow, turning back just to wave at you all.
I think being a fur trapper, maybe Talmud could have bought like a leather thong off of her to make a necklace out of this tooth. Yeah.
As you're looking at the tooth, you notice that metal ring is loose, just sitting on there. You could move it. You could move it away.
Okay. I'll do so, but I think I'm going to keep the tooth anyway.
Sure. As you pulled the metal ring off of the tooth, it was to fit around the tooth. It was about this big around. As you pull it off and hold it in your hand, it goes and shrinks down to the size of a normal ring, indicating that there's clearly some sort of magical property here, but you'll have to identify it or spend some time with it to fully understand what it could be.
As the bear leaves, Gerithan sheathes his blades and extinguishes the flame. He kind of breathes deeply, and he turns to the rest of the Dawnbringers. He says, well, I think now might be the time that I part ways with you all as well.
I would before some other tragedy befalls us.
Best of luck to you, and take care of yourself.
Thank you for all the help that you've given us. I know that you've not had an easy journey with getting to your goals, but I hope that which Fig has brought you gets you to that end.
And with that, I do produce the book, and I kind of look at everyone. I didn't expect to be deceived, to be thrust into your company, but and it has been a tumultuous time, but you are all, the only word that comes to mind is great heroes. Very powerful. And you fight the good fight. And I think all I can do is wish you luck. Wish you luck in Icewind Dale. And thank you for keeping me along, an unwelcome, or unexpected at least, visitor. And he kind of looks down at this book and opens it up. Imagine it starts to hum a little bit. The glow of the gem kind of lighting up his face. And he says, if any of you find yourself in the Baldur's Gate area, look up the Zerth Zaran, my company. They may be able to offer you some services. Depending on when you come, I may be there myself. He says, I don't know if I'll see you all again, but if I do, well, good luck.
To you as well.
Go
And he,
home while you can.
yeah, he wastes no time. Jeremy, go on. He at that will at Drown's comment will, with a little trepidation, a little excitement, will press in on this blue gemstone on the book. And as he does, we'll just look up at everyone.
As you press the blue gemstone, you all look and you see as Gerithan, nobody seems to know exactly what's going to happen when he presses this button. You press down on the gemstone, and the clockwork begins to hum and whir loudly. The gem glows brightly, and you all watch as this energy just suddenly goes shooting through Gerithan's hand, and his entire body is illuminated with this arcane blue energy, and then the energy pulls into the gem, the book drops down into the snow, and the lid closes. You all stand there and you look as this book now lies with snow already starting to fall on it. The first few flakes of snow melting from the warmth of Gerithan's hands holding on to it. And you notice that it no longer says Limbo on the cover. And that is where we are going to end today's session. And we can assume Gerithan made it home.
And Gerithan dies.
Or
he
did
dies
he?
in the far realm. He's dead.
A little bit of blood begins to leak out of the book.
Oh, God.
It sucked me in and ate me.
Big just takes the book and shoves it
was
into
a
his
mimic.
hat.
Like,
Why does the
book
book
was a
smell like
mimic.
pennies and burps?
Oh, man. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. I hope you enjoyed. I know we had a few new people in the audience tonight. Welcome. Whether you were in the chat or you were just lurking, we appreciate your presence. Thank you to all of the wonderful people who gave out gift subscriptions, who subscribed or tipped the channel to earn more domain dice for the Dawnbringers, such that they were able to use quite a few of them and are still at exactly what they were at the beginning of the session now, for a net zero gain or loss. So It all works out in the end. It was a fun episode. I had fun with this session. I hope you guys did too. But it was a lot to pack in. We had to deal with picking up where we left off, bringing Fig back from the Underdark, allowing for Griffith's exodus. For those that may not know, Scotty McFarland, who played Griffith, had to leave the campaign for personal reasons, just as we started our Underdark arc. And then allowing for Gerithan's exodus. There was a lot to get in there. I wanted to throw in one last chance for Gerithan to fight alongside all of you. We will return next week with episode 7, and the Dawnbringers will truly begin their quest to figure out why they're in Icewind Dale and where the rest of the Evangeline is and where their crew and friends are. They've learned a couple of things, so we'll see what they do next week. I do want to remind you, tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/miniterrain domain, will be episode 2 of Friday Night Takeover. We have got our friend of the channel, Marquise Hardis, is going to be running some players through a game in his Scavenger setting, a book that he co-wrote, successfully kickstarted recently. He is going to be running, let's see, we're going to have Connor, Mason, and Kenya will be returning as well, who was in Lloyd's Iskoff game last week. And this one shot is called Dying for Tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow night to check that out. And then you can type ! schedule at any time to see what we're up to. We've got plenty more D&D happening next week. Although, while we have our All That Glitters on Monday, our Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaign with Jordan and Ricky, M and myself with Dwight as the DM. On Tuesday, I will be over on Dice on Ice for another episode of Curse of Strahd with M as the DM. And then on Wednesday, we are planning to do a makeup session. Our next session, which is also our next to the last session of Momentum, Whispers and Fragments, the over 2-year campaign, monthly campaign we've been playing in Jeremy's homebrew world. And then, of course, we will be back next Thursday, right here with more Dawnbringers. So, as we said, thank you, Tamiko. I will get that fixed. Tamiko said the schedule still says Strahd, so I will update that. But as I've already said, thank you to everybody who tuned in with us tonight. And, of course, as always, a special thank you to Zachary, the heir of the MTD Empire, as he likes to say. If it wasn't already obvious, Zach is my son. Zach has been guest starring in the Gerithan role since M had to leave on Real World Adventures a few months ago. It was an absolute pleasure, Zach, having you be a part of the Dawnbringers. And we're glad that you could be here for the entirety of the time you were here. That made no sense. I'm glad you were here for all the time that you were here, except for that one episode. I wished you weren't.
There was one episode I wasn't here for. I'm hoping those line up. But,
yeah, if you're lucky.
If I'm lucky.
Well, roll a D100. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
But yeah, it's been a wonderful pleasure having you be a part of this. Yeah, so thank you to Zach, Dan, V, M, Ted, and Jeremy, without whom it would be just be me talking to myself for 3 hours. With that, we are going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.
My troll heart's delicious!